go. And we are live. Let me just double check on my phone before we get started here. Yeah, guys, what are we all saying about tonight? Pretty frustrating for the most part. Certainly for me, it was a game that I felt we probably should have won by more than one goal. Real Sociedad to me just were not anything special. But yeah, I mean, what else can we say? Spanish teams in Europe, they always do this. This is always the way of it. Referees, I don't know why, but they just give them so many free kicks. Real Sociedad recorded 11 free kicks today. We've seen the ball stop for Mikel Merino getting hit in the stomach by a ball. The referee had every opportunity. He managed to break up the game. He managed to stop the flow, and it really helped. It really hindered us. What didn't help us either, knowing that the referee was doing this, was that we seemed to completely bypass our midfield. We started with Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Donny van de Beek and Bruno Fernandes all on the pitch, and we couldn't string 5-6 passes together. It wasn't quite what we were expecting. I think Donny van de Beek really, he's just not going to make it at Manchester United, like, is he? It's just not going to happen. Completely anonymous again tonight. Seems like every time that Van de Beek comes onto the pitch that he's fairly anonymous, and today was no different. Christian Eriksen, poor game in midfield, unlike him, couldn't really get on the ball enough, couldn't make enough passes. Casemiro, for me, best midfielder on the pitch. Certainly broke up play very well. He stepped across, he won the ball. He seemed to give less fouls away than other players. It seemed to me that every time Ronaldo, Martinez, Luke Shaw and Dalot contested for a tackle, that it was given as a foul. I don't know if that was an active thing or not, but it certainly seemed to me that Casemiro was able to get away with it a little bit more. Of course, he is probably one of the most intelligent players at the club. He is certainly well versed in Italian teams and Spanish teams, how Spanish teams play, having played so long there. Ronaldo, pretty frustrating. He was frustrated. He didn't look happy being out on the pitch tonight. It's definitely something worth noting. It wasn't the case that he wasn't trying. It was that everything seemed to go wrong for him. He found Garnacho very well. And yeah, I mean, Manchester United now have an extra 2 matches to play during the winter period, which is just what we wanted. We wanted more football. We just could not wait. We couldn't wait. We just said, let bring on one of those Champions League knockout, dropout teams. We want extra matches. It wasn't good enough. But yeah, I mean, let's cut the negativity for a minute and let's talk about a young player with a lot of promise. He played very well in the first half. He played very well last week, and that's Alejandro Garnacho. Absolutely fantastic. I'm over the moon for the guy getting his goal. Really deserved it after his performance last week. He was so close to scoring last week. Got his goal this week, assisted by his icon. I am sure that no matter how frustrated United are and the feeling in the dressing room, that certainly for me, Alejandro Garnacho will be on cloud 9 right now, and he deserves it. He took his goal so well, took it on the left foot as well. Fantastic finish. Anybody who's watched Garnacho in the academy will know how talented he is, that he plays so well operating in that inside forward sort of area. He absolutely tore the FA Youth Cup up last year, playing in that same position. So yeah, it's certainly something for me that he's good at. I mean, yeah, I think that most people would agree that Garnacho should be playing. I think Garnacho will probably end up playing over Anthony Elanga. I mean, certainly we've seen the lack of ability from Elanga, and we've seen how good Garnacho has looked. I think, yeah, he's got a big future ahead of him, certainly. And as well, you know, when we look at our current options, Jadon Sancho isn't in form. Anthony Martial is always injured. Marcus Rashford was not used tonight as a precaution until the 70th minute. There is going to be minutes in the next couple of weeks for Alejandro Garnacho, and it'll be great for him. I fully expect him to play against Aston Villa at the weekend. He'll play against them in the League Cup for sure. He also hopefully will play against Fulham as well, so he could actually, by the time of the World Cup break, have 5 or 6 starts under his belt. Hopefully another goal or 2 as well. And yeah, I mean, it's looking good for Alejandro Garnacho. Certainly one to keep an eye on, certainly one that I'm planning on doing a video on. I think the guy and his his potential is just fantastic. He is just such a joy to watch. No fear in him. He takes his man on. He dribbles. He's fast. He's strong. He's courageous, and he's brave. He's not afraid to get stuck in. We've seen him give away a couple of fouls tonight. So I like to see it. I like to see that in a young player. I like to see a player who isn't afraid of doing a bit of the dirty work. And speaking of the dirty work, let's talk about Lisandro Martinez. Absolutely first rate from him as always. Great playing out of the back. I mean, Graham Souness said that he isn't particularly good at playing with the ball. I watched Lisandro Martinez pick the ball up on the edge of his box, take a pass a man, play a 50-60 yard absolute peach of a pass onto Ronaldo. Now Ronaldo was offside unfortunately, but somebody who isn't a good passer doesn't play that pass. Graham Souness just talking complete nonsense. As well, Graham Souness said the guy is too small. Lisandro Martinez 5'9", okay? Alexander Sorloth is 6'5". Every ball, every header that they contested, Lisandro Martinez got the better of him. How does Jimmy Carragher and Graham Souness explain that? They don't. It'll just go unnoted. They're just people talking out their arses, really, for talking out or just for the attention. We know this already, but I just wanted to mention that because I had done a video on Graham Souness and the nonsense he's spouting on TalkSport. But yeah, next up for Manchester United is going to be Aston Villa at the weekend. It'll be a tough match. Unai Emery, of course, his first game for Aston Villa. They'll have all week to prepare for this. They'll have planned for this. They'll come and they'll play some very negative football, I'm sure. It never is particularly exciting with Unai Emery, but he does have 3 Europa Leagues for a very good reason. It's because it's effective. I mean, yeah, what else can really be said about Unai Emery? We've seen it all at Arsenal, all at Villarreal, all at Sevilla. The guy is a good manager. They'll be tough to beat, and I'm sure that it'll be a case that we will struggle to break them down, especially with our lack of forward options. So just moving into the stats here for today's match. Obviously, we finished the group with 5 wins, 1 loss, scored 10 goals and conceded 3. As we can see in the bottom, we finished runners up. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be for us to win the group. Again, that their very poor refereeing decision given against us at Old Trafford has come back to haunt us. I mean, it was never ever a handball on Lisandro Martinez in that match. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I looked at who we can face. We can face Bayer Leverkusen, Ajax, Barcelona, Juventus. I back us to beat any of those teams. I personally think that we will be in the next round of Europa League regardless. It would have been nice to not have had to play the match. It would have left us 3 games away from a European Cup final. But we are Manchester United. We do things the hard way. If there's a hard way to do it, we will do it. And yeah, but I back us. I mean, we've seen capitulation at Juventus. Ajax have been very poor this season under their new manager with so much changes in the summer. Certainly for me, we're capable of beating all those teams. I definitely think that it's completely possible that we find ourselves in the next round of the Europa League. And I think that unless we maybe get a quality team, somebody like a Barcelona on form, maybe then we worry, but certainly not going off current form. I mean, obviously, if we do, I think we'll get Barcelona. It'll just be UEFA pulling out the dream draw for advertisers. I think that'll end up being Barcelona. We'll obviously have to watch out for the likes of Lewandowski. Of course, they are a good team, but they aren't functioning well as a team at the minute. So hopefully we can exploit that. But yeah, we'll find out on Monday who we play. It'll no doubt be something to talk about, so we will be discussing the draw as it happens. I do believe that for me, regardless, we can beat whoever we come up against, be it Ajax or Barcelona, Juventus, Bayer Leverkusen. I back us to beat any of them. Certainly think that we will find ourselves in that next round, as I've already said. And yeah, I mean, what can we take away from tonight? We can take away that Manchester United are desperately short in forward options. We saw Harry Maguire play up front tonight. That is not something I want to see ever again. I mean, Harry Maguire is many things. Striker is not one of them. I mean, what else needs to be said? for the same reason that Marouane Fellaini didn't work when Louis van Gaal tried to deploy him as a striker, when Jose tried to deploy him as a striker, it doesn't work. Harry Maguire has no business being in the opposition penalty box, except for maybe at a corner. But it just highlights the lack of depth we have. We've no Sancho, no Anthony. Marcus Rashford didn't start. No Anthony Martial. Of course, in the summer, Cavani left as well, not replaced. Jesse Lingard left, not replaced. Cristiano Ronaldo would have left, and we probably wouldn't have replaced him. And what else can we really say? I mean, we have a serious lack of depth up front. I feel like we need at least one striker brought in, probably two. Perhaps like a striker and an inside forward, either left or right. Maybe like a Cody Gakpo could be a very astute signing. I've discussed as well in previous videos several players we should look at. I mean, the dream would be like a Zimhen, but I feel like someone like Gonzalo Ramos maybe is more probable. Tareem Moffi perhaps, but I mean, we will see. I think we need 2 to 3 forward options. Certainly, I feel like Martial can't be relied upon to stay fit. I feel like Cristiano Ronaldo is about to leave the club, and I feel like we're going to be left desperately short up front. So it is a cause of concern. It is something to be worried about, and I do feel like it's an area that we are certainly going to have to strengthen in going into the rest of the season, going into the next season. If we have ambition as a football club, we'll go out and buy a forward player in January. I personally doubt it. The rumblings coming out in the press is that we won't do it. This will just be typical Glazer spin with Richard Arnold and John Murda saying, look, we're saving budget for the upcoming summer window. Don't let it be forgotten, of course, that Manchester United had Ralph Rangnick here this time last season, who recommended several players for us to buy. Recommended Julian Alvarez, Christopher Nkunku, who said that we should have a look at Haaland and try our best to get him. Enzo Fernandez as well was also recommended by Ralph Rangnick. So, I mean, can we at least show some ambition? I hope so. I really do hope so. Certainly for me, if we do bring in a couple of players, we can have a much stronger finish to the season rather than relying upon the injury record of Anthony Martial up front and the form or lack of shown from Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, yeah. What else needs to be said? What else can really be done? I wouldn't expect us to be too busy in January, unfortunately. So I think that we will go into the rest of the season with the team that we have. Certainly for me, it's a cause of concern. I feel like if we are to compete on several fronts, we need more, because Cristiano Ronaldo isn't playing well. Martial is always injured. We're going to be competing in the Premier League, the Europa League, the League Cup and the FA Cup, 4 competitions. We just can't have Marcus Rashford through the middle every week. He isn't a striker. He is better off the left, regardless of where Eric Ten Hag has played him this season. And there's just a serious lack of options. I mean, Diogo Dalot has started our last 27 matches. It's not a sustainable rate. I mean, he's constantly having to play a full 90 minutes 3 times a week. It's a matter of time before he picks up an injury. It's a matter of time before we're stuck with either Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Brandon Williams at right back. So I think a right back is certainly a priority position. I think with Rafael Varane's fitness injuries and his issues staying fit, that a centre back's another place that we should be looking to further invest in. We're not really seeing it from United at the minute. Of course, one of the key concerns I have is just a lack of depth. I mean, we're trying to get a goal to get us into the round of 16 in a European Cup competition, and we're playing Harry Maguire up front. That's just not how Eric Ten Hag would have envisaged his night going, but it highlights the lack of issues we have, and it highlights that we need further investment. Manchester City, we seen them last night play a completely rotated team and they still won. Manchester United, if we played a completely rotated team, we would be beat by Championship sides. That's the reality of it. There's nothing else we can really say about that. The lack of depth at the club is appalling. I mean, it's been like that for a while. We've seen under Ollie, I believe he started with the same exact 11 for 9 consecutive Premier League matches whenever we first came back from lockdown. You know, the team was playing well, of course, but after 9 matches in the space of about 3 weeks, they were burnt out. There was a lack of form at the club, and it's just going to end up the same way. We play a very heavy pressing style, an intensive, energising style of football. If we are to play that, we need more. We certainly need to be seeing more investment into the squad, give us more options. Whenever you don't have that, whenever you completely play with the same players, you burn them out. We've seen this at Liverpool. Liverpool's players are on average around 30. Jordan Henderson, Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah, Thiago Alcantara, Roberto Firmino, they look shot, they look burnt out this season, and it's because there's a lack of rotational depth at Liverpool, and it's a cause of concern for them. We could end up the same way this season, running out of steam, running out of fitness with our players, and that would be an absolute travesty if we are playing really good football. It is something, of course, that I really do worry about, is if we can't stay fit, if we can't rotate our team, then how are we going to succeed? How are we going to compete across all these different competitions this season? I just don't think it's possible. I just don't think we can. It is an absolute worry for me, but hopefully this gets addressed in January with the young players we have at the club. The likes of Garnacho can hopefully take some minutes. I fully expect to see Kobbie Mainoo get first 10 minutes if the midfield continues playing like it does. So there is always the option of some of our academy players getting onto the pitch and getting some minutes, which would be very useful for us. I do feel like it was probably a mistake loaning out Ethan Laird if Aaron Wan-Bissaka just isn't going to play. So I feel like we could do with a right back. I did recommend Jeremy Frimpong as a potential option. I've seen Max Aarons spoke about. I don't rate Max Aarons particularly highly. Maybe a couple of seasons ago, but Max Aarons just screams a player that hasn't progressed. From he was 18, he is now 22. So why hasn't he got the move away from Norwich City as of yet? So causes for concern. Thankfully no injuries tonight. 3 matches go to the World Cup. Hopefully everybody can stay fit. Everybody makes it to the World Cup for their national team. And yeah, that pretty much wraps us up for tonight. Just posted a short there with the player ratings if you guys want to check that out, or if you already have, thank you very much. I think I'll be posting tomorrow the preview for the Aston Villa match on Sunday. I am at the Irish rugby game on Saturday, so I probably won't be available to make the video on Saturday, so I'll do it tomorrow. So that will be coming out tomorrow. We'll go live after Sunday with the full review and everything for the Villa match, and then after that's Aston Villa again in the League Cup, so a double header with Mr. Good Evening himself, Unai Emery, to look forward to. So we'll see you for that there one. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you have a good night, and I will see you later. And that's us.